Boom. And they're all linked together and ready to go. Now, over the last couple of episodes, we have dived into immersive engineering a little bit. We've utilized some garden cloches, we've mixed some different materials to produce some diesel, so we can utilize some awesome tools, and also gain some extra power from a diesel generator. However, we're not actually using that power from the diesel generator. Well, not yet, at least. So, to be able to utilize all of that power, my plans for today is to gather up some more garden cloches, and, well, farm everything. Just about everything. Well, everything that the garden cloche can farm, minus a couple of duplicate flowers, because with this we should be able to automate every single dye, and on top of that also provide access to every type of food that we could possibly want. Now, all in all, for this project I'm going to need about 36 garden cloches, and each one of those garden cloches are going to, well, cost us, I believe it is 8 RF per garden cloche. So the amount of power we're going to be using is about 288 RF per tick, or FE per tick, energy per tick, whatever you want to call it, which is honestly not that much. But we also didn't account for the pump, and the pump doesn't use all that much power either, and we're probably going to need more than one of those to pump all of these with water. Now, what is going to get pretty expensive are all of the connectors, and we can either go with these connectors or the one from Immersive. It really doesn't matter. I think these are a bit more cleaner, so I'm going to go with probably the ones from the Create New Age mod. Now, to get power over there, I have added another type of mod. So I did mention a few episodes ago that I added a mod to the pack that allowed for wireless transmission of Create Things. Well, I actually changed my mind on the mod. I hadn't utilized it yet, but I think that Create Utilities is probably going to be a much more interesting mod to actually use instead of the other one that we were using. And I'm pretty sure the other one was Ender Transmissions. So this one has a much more realistic crafting recipe, at least I think, by default. And that is going to be mixing up some netherite and ender pearls. This should be superheated. That'd be way better, I think. But having these mixed together will create void steel, and that gets used in a new casing material, which is a void steel casing block. And this also has a motor, but this motor is pretty cool as you can kind of link it together like the redstone links. There's also a void chest, void tank, which can be all connected together, by the way, and this works cross-dimensionally, and also a void battery, which should allow us to transport power from one location to another wirelessly. And I think that just allows for way more flexibility. Having the ability to not need to put a train track everywhere you go, yeah, in my opinion, is a lot nicer and allows for me to be a lot more creative in my setups. Do you smell that? The smell of freedom. It's amazing. Now, over here is where I want to put this massive farm, and it's going to be built very similar to the area that we have over here, trying to keep with the same sort of theme. And thankfully, I have my now handy dandy saw, so I don't have to do this all by hand. I mean, I guess this is by hand, but I don't have to break every single block by hand because we have our handy dandy buzzsaw. Oh, and that's fantastic. Now, this is all going to eventually lead into what is essentially going to be my cooking empire. Yes, so definitely getting these crops up and running are going to make it a little bit easier for me to, well, make a bunch of food. And there are a lot of food mods in this pack, almost taking over the majority of the pack, believe it or not. Between all of the Farmer's Delights add-ons, I mean, it feels like this pack is create, immersive engineering, and food. I mean, that's basically it. Now, with a pretty decent place over here set up, I'm now going to start to bridge off of this. I think I'm going to start, though, from this side, and then I'm going to work my way up and over onto this. Now, whoever built this bridge definitely needs to be fired because it is completely in shambles. Who builds a bridge and makes it a snake pattern? You know what? I should be fired. I'm the one who built it. I think that's kind of going with the sort of theme that I have going with this whole area, which is to look kind of industrial, but to also not look like brand new, to kind of go with the whole SteamPunk 5. I feel like that's sort of important. Or at this point, is it still SteamPunk or is this like future punk? I really don't know. I've kind of, kind of lost track. Start calling it Minecraft punk. Yeah, we're Minecrafting it out, punk style. I feel like a punk now. No, that's not what I was intending. Wait, hold on a minute. So keeping with all of the designs of the other area, I have implemented that over here, and you can see I am definitely utilizing some bricks in here. That's to give it definitely that factory vibe, but I don't want it to feel like it's a full factory. I want it to sort of feel like a crumbled factory, if that makes any sense. Like this was the start of the construction of something, and that's why I've added that brick. And I think that it kind of fits with the whole feel. I don't know. You can let me know down in the comments below. Like, what's your thoughts on this particular style that I've got going here? I really do like the mixture of the concrete with the andesite, and it definitely feels very immersive. Yeah, it's related to the immersive engineering mod. And then, of course, the mixture with the andesite really feels like it fits well in with the create mod. Now, since this is going to be a farm-related area, definitely got to add in some bushes. That's going to give it some nice earthy feels. Now to blend it in and make it feel way more alive, I'm going to add some wheat crops. And once they're fully grown, this whole area should really start to look like an actual industrial crop area. Oh, this is going to look so good once all of this wheat grows in. And I have decided to mix in some of this goldenrod here, which does really look like wheat. And it kind of looks like weeded wheat. I don't even know how you would describe that. Like extra tall wheat, like maybe it's grown a little bit better than the rest of it. Yes, it's gonna look so good blended together. So now that the rough outline of our, crop area is now set up and ready to go, I can now start to get a little bit more industrial and start to get our industrial crops set up. So I've prepped up some garden cloches, and I want these in a very specific way. Now, by default, when you place them down, you have a water port on the back, a redstone control on the front, and as I've mentioned before in the prior episodes, this will automatically output onto a belt. Now, the way that I have it set up is I actually want to feed water into the back, and I want it to come directly out of a pump. And to make it as clean as possible, I'm going to have the water being pulled in from this side, in which I have my trapdoors set up to make an infinite source in front of this. And these are all going to run just like this on the outside. And that's going to allow me to have one singular pipe running down the middle, which is going to equal a total, whenever we add them on the other side, a total of 36 garden cloches, which is just enough to have every single one of these crops you see here and flowers being processed. But on top of that, I'm going to be having an extra rice being farmed, because rice is used quite a bit. Like inside of this garden cloche, it's going to produce rice pinnacles, and these are probably some of the most useful things from Farmer's Delight, because whenever you actually cut them on a cutting board, you get straw, and straw has some pretty interesting properties, allowing you to make canvas. It makes some nice decorative blocks, and these can also make rope and many other things, so definitely worth making. Not only that, but it is sort of a primary part of many of the crafting recipes for many of the food sources in Farmer's Delight as well. Now, just to make sure everything is cleared here, to be able to set this up, this definitely needs power, but we need to make this a blue port. And then on this side needs to be an orange port for the output. So we have our input and output, just like so. And then I just need to fill the water in. And what I have is I have a trap door that, this rotates the wrong way, but I have a trapdoor that's set up on the inside of this block, which gives you free space out here to put anything you want. And Supplementaries has these really nice looking pots, these flower boxes, that might be a good addition to have, for example, in front of these trapdoors. I mean, just look at that. It's so adorable going in here. Yeah, you can put flowers in it. So now that all this is in place, I still don't have a storage set up yet for this. Now, I want this to be in its own separate storage. That means it's going to have its own storage interface, all kinds of goodies like that. And the way that I want to do this is through sophisticated storage. And it's actually a little bit different than we've done our main storage, where I connected everything with Tom's storage. This one, I'm actually going to utilize the storage controller from Sophisticated Storage. And this has a lot of interesting properties, but one of them is that we can link all of these storage barrels together, and we can link them all directly to it about 16 blocks away with the storage tool. Now, on top of that, we can also insert items directly into the storage controller via these belts, which is how I'm going to get all of the items into our storage. And so these are going to just basically run through here, and they're going to end up directly into this storage controller. And this is also going to be the interface for what we're going to put our actual storage controller or storage linker from the Toms. What is that called? Storage connector? No, the storage terminal. Yes, this thing. So we're going to be able to actually connect a terminal directly onto this. And this will allow us to read the inventory off of it. It looks very weird this way. Now, currently, I know I'm going to need at least 36 of these storages. So I'm going to at least place that many down. But I think some of these, for example, like the wheat seeds, they give you the seeds back. But some of these don't really give you anything extra. Like, for example, the industrial hemp, I do know that this gives you extra. But the tomato, it does not give you seeds back. So yeah, this is something that we got to kind of keep in mind. And I've got to start getting this storage placed in. And so I think the perfect thing to do is just start laying these out. And I'm going to be using limited barrels that are upgraded to the tier 1. So that way we can put void upgrades in here. I think that's going to be very necessary. Now, some things I want to test out. I want to see if I can use potentially an item router instead of what I was thinking about doing, which was fill the entire thing with void upgrades because, well, void upgrades are kind of expensive. So I was thinking, maybe I could get this to try and send into this router or into the storage controller first. And then if it can't go in here, the rest of the items will potentially be tossed into some sort of thing that will destroy items. I don't know. That's just some ideas. I'll try this out. But first things first, we need to get all of these drawers now linked up to the storage controller. So I shift right click on this, and then I can right click to add all of these storages. And by the way, I believe the order you add them in is going to be the priority order that these drawers are essentially set up in. So it'll try to hit this storage first, then this one, and so on and so forth, depending on how I've added it. And look at this. This looks just kind of crazy looking with all the lasers everywhere. I love this mod. Pepper's done such a good job. But look at this. Boom. And they're all linked together and ready to go. Now we just got to basically get our conveyor belts over here and get our power linked up. Now, the more I was thinking about this, unfortunately, I don't think the item router is going to work the way I want it to work. Because what's going to happen is the items are going to go into this and still go into here, but this is going to act as like an advanced splitter. And it's great for advanced splitting, and if items build up in your split, it will make sure to send it out in whatever's available. But in this case, I don't want it just splitting half of everything that is produced. I don't want half of everything to just go into the trash. So yes, so I'm going to figure out another solution, and that is possibly going to be this right here. These void upgrades, like I had said, these are going to need to go in here, and they're just going to need to be set to void overflow. So yes, anything that overflows in here, when this is in here, we just got to make sure that if it goes over, it's just going to get deleted. And that's primarily because I'm using these conveyor belts from Immersive because I really like them. And they're not as laggy as the ones that Create have. It just gets really overwhelming after a while. So I'm almost to the point where I can start to power this whole thing, but that's where that new mod is going to come into play. Because what I want to do with that new mod is I want to send power over here wirelessly. Now, I do have these towers in, and I could definitely extend the power and route it all the way over here, but I want to take it directly from our diesel generator. And I want to use that diesel generator to be able to power this and future things, you know, in the future. That was weird to say. But yes, I definitely want to use it to power other things, and that's what this mod is going to allow me to do, is to sort of bring that diesel power elsewhere. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a very expensive recipe in my opinion, as it does cost 2 netherite ingots each to make one of these void batteries. This is going to cost a netherite ingot, and this, gravitron tube is going to cost a netherite ingot. So yes, like I said, pretty darn expensive, but I think that's for a good reason, because you really don't want to have access to something that you can just spam everywhere, because then you would never use anything else. And so this is going to lead me to be very cautious with where I place these things, because it's going to cost me time. Because to mine up the ingots, these ancient debris, it's just going to take a bit of time, because I've got to get my drill back up and running and get it running back in the nether, and it takes, you know, several minutes just to farm up a couple of those ingots. Now, don't get me wrong, it is very powerful, but I will say that there is no way to get a train into the other dimensions. So if I plan on going into any other dimension, I will not be able to utilize any other trains or anything. No matter what I can do with trains, I can't get them to that dimension. Trains really only like to go into the nether, and that's just how it is. So let's go ahead and get to mixing. So I'm just going to use a straw on this guy and take our bucket of seed oil, and we can get this guy burning for quite a while. And in that meantime, we're going to go ahead and on one side, we're going to put our ender pearl, and on this side, I'm going to put my debris. I got to make sure to turn my magnet off, actually. And there we go. This is going to get to mixing, and this is producing those void still ingots. And then I've got to take half of those, and they've got to be pressed down just like that. And now we have just about everything. I do need amethyst, and we are going to need some sandpaper. And I've just got to sand down some amethyst. So we can toss that on the ground. And then I just sand it up just like so. Same with this. Perfect. And now we have our polished amethyst. Now the other part can be done in here, but I'm going to do it by hand at first. I'm going to place these down and I'm going to click these on the obsidian, and that is going to give us void casing. That is one expensive casing right here. But we now have it, and this combined together with a couple of copper sheets, oh boy, is going to grant us the ability to move not only power around, but stress units around, because we can generate stress units from our power that we're generating. And that is fantastic. So how to set these up? So we need to go over to our position where we are generating our power. So I'm going to go all the way over here to our diesel generator, and I'm going to tap into that power with some connectors. And I don't know how many we're going to need. Let's see. I think we definitely need 3 to make sure we're able to pull out all of the power. And then we're going to need some cables. Now, I don't think we're going to need any higher than this. Now, the generator doesn't even generate any higher than the gold tier wire support. So we should be just fine based off of that knowledge. You know what? I think I'm going to put it like right here on the edge. And that's going to look kind of interesting. And tap into it. Now, I think the back side is the side that actually has all of the node information on it. Yeah, this is where you actually configure the whole setup here. So I'm going to leave it turned that way. Actually, I'm going to have it turned this way so I can see it a little bit clearer. There we go. Perfect. But yes, on the back, you know what? I'm just going to use these steel sheet metals to program it. So we can set the frequency here. And you can also click it here to set you as the owner. So if you're on a server, you can make sure you're the only one that can change its configuration, which is very useful, believe it or not. And we just want to make sure all of these are connected to this connector. And we probably want to set this to pull. And then right here, we want to make sure this is able to be turned on. And now this has power and is also storing it. It has a nice buffer as well. It's not a lot of power, 32,000, but it is still holding a buffer of power. And what we can do is we can carry that directly over here. Now, like I said before, I added this mod to the pack, and you can easily do that too via the CurseForge app. If that's what you're using for your mod launcher. If not, you can just go to the CurseForge page where this mod is located, find the one for this version that the pack is in, and then of course just put it into your mods folder. It's pretty much that simple. And so now that we have our battery, I think what I want to do is I'm going to connect the battery. I'm going to place it right over here. Like, why not? Why not have it right here? And then I can break through this block and configure it from the back so we don't see that weird configuration menu. And yes, we'll just need to add a connector to the top here. And same with the other ones. Make sure this is set to pull. And now we should be able to at least get this whole line up and running. And this is also going to start our water production. So it was sheet metal is what I used to configure this. So I'm going to click myself here. Put in my sheet metal. If I can bend down. There we go. Oh, nope. Sheet metal. Not that. There we go. Sheet metal and sheet metal. So now this is connected. And that should be receiving power. And so we should be able to just run this power directly here. And so on and so forth. Oh boy. And I think I'm going to have to make more of these wires. I'm going to make more cables. And this happens so fast now. and boop. There we go. Now on these water pumps, I almost forgot that it needs a redstone signal. I was so confused there for a moment. I always forget this. But if I go ahead and I put a redstone block here, I can decorate it as best as I can with some trapdoors. I was thinking about using a lever, but I can't use a lever right there. So redstone block it is. And yeah, it is working though. And now at this point, it's probably time for the most tedious portion. And that is, I've got to take this whole list of ingredients, all these individual items here, and I've got to build a list of them. And I've got to put them all in my backpack and make sure that I have them all lined up so that way I can put them all into the machines. So now after a little bit of work and effort, I now have basically my row of 9 here, and another row of 9 and row of 9. And so they are kind of in an organized position, at least I think so, outside of the flowers, but it really doesn't matter. It's all going to go into one storage anyways. And well, I can now start placing the seeds in. However, there is something to note about placing these seeds in. They all have sort of different requirements. For example, like cactus is going to require sand to be underneath it. So some things require certain dirts and so on and so forth, and they're not going to start fully until we get all of those in. But I can go ahead and, at least for right now, start to get the main crops in. So now that I have all of this in, the fun part starts. This should automatically start producing resources as soon as we put all of the required ingredients in. Oh boy, this is all going to get jump started. By the way, I think the flowers, they just require dirt as well, right? Yeah, just regular dirt. And it's very simple, very simple. All of this is going to start being produced. Now it's going to be pretty slow, but it's going to set over time. So over time, this is really going to produce quite a few resources, especially since it is all automated. But yeah, for example, sweet berries. So what does this require? This should just require regular dirt, right? Yep. Yeah, most things are going to use dirt. For example, I think sugarcane, it can go on dirt or sand, but I think it requires sand in this case. Yep, and we just need to fill the rest in with dirt. Ah, that is besides glowberries. That does require moss. Oh, and also our first few items are starting to go in. And look at that. So you see all of the items going in. It's automatically being sorted into these barrels, like I had mentioned before. And yeah, I don't really have to worry about the organization of these. I just want them to go into the storage, and then if overflowed, they will just simply be voided. And now just like that, you can see I have my terminal in here and I can access all of those inventories. Oh, this is fantastic. And all of these resources are now automated, including, by the way, wither roses. All of these things are nice and ready to go. And I feel like this area is very fitting for this. Of course, I would love to hear from you guys. What do you think I could have done better in this build? And what could I potentially do in the future to spruce it up? Because I'll definitely read those comments and I will definitely take them into account and will try my best to correct anything that, well, you may recommend. Because this is just one small step towards getting our ultimate culinary area set up. This is going to be where all of the items, for example, that we're going to need for those culinary endeavors are going to reside, and we can send them anywhere we need, which is another nifty little thing that we are going to use this controller for in the future. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and give this video a huge thumbs up. And well, with that, it's now time to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that amazing thanks is going to go out to Crafty. Thank you so much, by the way, for your amazing support by choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting me in one of the best ways possible. Thank you so very much. I hope to see you in the next one. And of course, as always, thanks for watching. Bye, guys.